Welcome everyone. My name's Bridie, I'm from Younion Yoga, and we're going to do a little restorative flow today. So this is going to be really good for your lower back, also good for upper back, middle back, shoulders and neck. So all you'll need is a block, or if you don't have a block, using a cushion or just something about 10 centimeters thick, because we are going to need that to lay down and help open up the back a little bit. So to begin, we're going to start in any comfortable seated position. So you could sit cross-legged, you could sit on your heels with your knees down on the mat. Anything at all that's comfortable for you. And just closing the eyes or casting the gaze downward to eliminate any visual distractions. And just focusing in on the breath. So putting your hands wherever is comfortable, on the knees or in the lap. And we're not trying to change or control the breath, we're just paying attention to our own natural breath. So you might just notice the length of the inhale or the exhale. You might notice the air passing through your nostrils. You might start to notice that natural pause in between each inhale and exhale. And we're going to start to regulate the breath a little. So we want to soften the belly and inhale and let the belly expand. And exhale, let the belly fall, so draw the navel back towards the spine. So you inhale, belly rises. Exhale, belly falls. One more inhale, belly rises. Exhale, belly falls. And we're going to expand that breath into the full yogi breath. So inhale, belly rises. Keep inhaling into the chest. And a little more into the shoulders. And then exhale out of the shoulders, out of the chest, and out of the belly, drawing the navel back towards the spine. One more inhale into the belly, chest, shoulders, and then exhale out of the shoulders, chest, and belly. Gently opening the eyes. Come seated now, as I am, on your heels. So your shins are on the mat, bottoms on the heels, knees are out in front of you. We're going to come down into a child's pose to begin. So walk the hands out towards the top of the mat and let the forehead just fall down onto the mat. If it's more comfortable, you could certainly spread the knees wide here. Just make sure the big toes are still touching. And then walking the hands out towards the top of the mat again, bringing the forehead down onto the mat. So if your knees are together, you're probably getting a little more stretch in the lower back. And if the knees are apart, you'll be feeling a little more in the hips. So choosing your position and just taking 5 nice, long, slow breaths here. It's up to you whether you have the eyes open or closed, whatever's more comfortable. Focusing in on the breath here. So you want to inhale, feel the belly, chest, ribs expanding. And as you exhale, feeling that all contract. Two more breaths here. Slowing the breath right down, perhaps even counting if it helps. So inhaling for 5. And exhaling for 5. One more breath. Gently opening the eyes if they were closed and making your way into a tabletop position. So hands are stacked under the shoulders. Now the knees are hip distance apart. We're going to move into puppy pose. So if you want to take the knees wider here, you can, but you'll walk the hands out towards the top of the mat and bring the forehead down onto the mat. So it's very similar to child's pose, only this time our bottom's up in the air. So you can let the hips sort of sink back a little, and that's going to stretch out the front of the body, stretching out the chest, stretching out the arms. And it's also going to take a lot of weight off the lower back. So in this gentle inversion, each vertebrae has time and space to gently separate and decompress. If you'd like a slight variation to this pose, you can walk the hands out further towards the top of the mat and bring the chin down onto the mat, gazing forward. Let the chest or the heart press down onto the mat. Again, those alternatives, so you might have the forehead on the mat, or you might have the chest down on the mat, whichever's most comfortable for you. 3 more breaths here. Remember, focusing in on the breath, slowing down the breath. One more breath. And then slowly sink the hips back down towards the feet and let the hands come back underneath the shoulders so you find yourself in tabletop again. I'm going to do a little bit of a counter stretch here. So we're going to inhale the right arm all the way up, opening the body, and then exhale, thread that right hand behind the left hand, bringing the right ear and shoulder down onto the mat. The right palm is facing up, and then we're going to take the left palm facing down towards the top of the mat. So it's getting a gentle stretch on our right shoulder blade, still in that inversion, so releasing the pressure off our lower back. And the left arm is just outstretched towards the top of the mat. 5 breaths here. And remember, slowing down the breath, taking your time to fill the chest and the lungs. And as you exhale, just feeling the body soften. Two more breaths here. I'm going to slide that left hand now back down towards the left shoulder and gently press yourself back up into a tabletop position. So if that was a little tight, give yourself a moment before you go to the other side. And from our tabletop, we're going to inhale the left arm all the way up. And then exhale, thread the left hand behind the right hand, bringing the left ear and shoulder down onto the mat. And then taking that right arm up towards the top of the mat. So the left palm is facing up and the right palm is facing down towards the mat. 5 breaths here, focusing in on the breath, slowing down the breath, perhaps counting if it helps, inhaling for 5, exhaling for 5. 2 more breaths. And then we're going to drag that right hand back underneath the right shoulder. Press yourself back up into a tabletop position. Again, a little movement in between each pose is okay if it's a little tight for you. Then we're going to walk our hands out towards the top of the mat and come laying down on our tummies, ready for our Sphinx pose. So we're on our tummies, hips are down on the mat, tops of the feet are on the mat, and the elbows are placed under the shoulders. Palms are facing down, thumbs are facing each other. Gaze is slightly forward here. Now you want to squeeze the buttocks and press the pubic bone down into the top of the mat. And then lift up through the back of the neck, keeping the gaze forward. So once you've got that extension through the back of the neck, then lift through the crown of the head. So remember to keep the buttocks a little tight, keep the hips tucked here, keep lifting through the crown of the head. And we're going to exhale, turn our gaze to the left, looking over the left shoulder. And then inhale, return the gaze to the front. Exhale, turn the gaze to the right, looking over the right shoulder. Remember, we're still extending through the crown of the head, squeezing the buttocks. And then exhale, return the gaze to the front. One more on each side. As you turn the gaze to the left, make sure you keep the buttocks tight, keep extending through the crown of the head. And then inhale, return the gaze to the front. And exhale, turn the gaze to the right. Inhale, return the gaze to the front. And then from our Sphinx pose, we're going to gently bring our hands closer to our rib cage and push ourselves up onto our knees. So we can come sitting on our bottoms now, ready for our caterpillar or forward fold. So having the legs out in front of you, keep the knees bent as much as you need to through this pose, especially if you really are tight through the lower back. You're going to have your knees a lot closer to your chest. And just fold the body down over the thighs. And we're going to pistol grip the big toes. Drop the head and let the cheeks just rest on the knees. Or if you'd like a little more, you can simply walk the heels out away from you. So we're going to have 5 breaths here. So taking your time in this pose, the tighter you are in the lower back, the more you're going to keep your knees bent. And very slowly, perhaps one breath at a time, you'll start to straighten the legs a little more each breath. One more breath here. And then inhale, lifting the gaze first. And exhale, letting go of the toes, coming back up into a seated position. And we want to lay down on our backs. We're ready for our figure 4 or reverse pigeon. So with our feet on the mat, knees in the air, we're going to take our right ankle and place it on top of the left knee. Now the most important part here is to keep that foot dorsiflexed, so bring the toes back towards the shin. And you'll notice a little triangle in the legs here. So you're going to send your right hand through the triangle and the left hand around the outside of the left leg. Now you'll either grab underneath the left thigh, or perhaps you can reach on top of the left shin. And then place the head back down on the mat, dorsiflexion in the right foot, and gently pull the left knee towards the left shoulder, keeping the tailbone grounded. Four more breaths here. So you should be feeling a gentle stretch on the right glute, even into the hamstring, and maybe a little in the lower back if you're tight there. One more breath. And we're going to change sides. So gently release that left foot back onto the mat, and then the right foot back onto the mat. Taking your time coming into the other side. The left ankle is going on top of the right knee. The left hand is going through that triangle in the legs, and then the right hand is reaching around the outside of the right leg. So you'll either interlace the fingers under the thigh or on top of the shin bone. And as you pull the knee closer towards the chest, you really want to keep dorsiflexion in that left foot. That's going to protect your knee here. So 4 more breaths here, keeping the tailbone grounded, the head on the mat, just focusing in on the breath. As we gently stretch the glutes and the hamstring, releasing the lower back. One more breath. Gently place that right foot down on the mat and then the left foot down on the mat. And now you're going to get your block. We're going to come into our fish pose. So placing the block on the mat, you can either have it flat side down or slightly higher. If you know you've got quite a flexible back, you can have it right up on the highest setting. And you want to place it so that when you lay down on the mat, it's under your thoracic spine. So that's the middle part of your spine, basically in between the shoulder blades. Start with the feet on the mat and the knees in the air, coming down onto the elbows, letting the spine be gently placed on the block, and then tilting the head down onto the mat, lifting through the chin, opening through the heart and the throat. And if you would like a little more, you can go ahead and straighten the legs. However, if you really are feeling it in the lower back, I suggest you bring the feet back onto the mat and even change the block onto a lower setting, or perhaps trying it with a cushion for a little more comfort. Three more breaths here. Now to come out of this pose, we bring the elbows close to the body. Press the elbows through the mat, tuck the chin in towards the chest, push yourself up off the block. Remove the block for a moment, but keep it close by, and then just come laying down on the mat again, hugging the knees into the chest for a moment. We're going to come into a gentle twist. So, with the knees hugged into the chest, take the arms wide, and as you exhale, let the knees fall down to the left. Now you can turn your gaze to the right, or you can keep the gaze at the ceiling, or even turn the gaze to the left if it's more comfortable. 4 more breaths here. Just focusing in on getting a nice, deep, slow breath. And letting the legs get heavy and just fall towards the mat. And first we inhale and bring the gaze back towards the ceiling. And then as we exhale, hug the knees in towards the chest. So we just take a breath in the middle here, so hands on the knees, making small circles with the knees. Before we go into the other side, we are doing a U-turn on the spine, so go nice and slow here. When you're ready, taking the arms wide again and exhaling the knees down to the right. And then if you like, either turning the gaze to the left, looking at the ceiling, or turning the gaze to the right, whichever is more comfortable. Just let the feet and the legs get heavy here. There's no particular right place where they should fall. It should just feel like a gentle stretch on the spine. 3 more breaths. And then we inhale, bring the gaze back towards the ceiling, hug the knees in towards the chest. Just take a moment here before we place our feet on the mat. So maybe making small circles with the knees, or a little rock from side to side. And then placing the feet down on the mat, bringing the block or cushion in nice and close to you again. You want to have your feet on the mat, lift the hips up into the air and place the block or cushion underneath your tailbone. And then come and rest back down on the mat. We're just going to lift the knees up here, lift the feet up off the mat. And when you're comfortable, you can take the feet right up into the air. So this is legs up the wall, keeping the hands down alongside the body. So we've got a gentle inversion here. The hips lifted up off the mat, stretching out the lower back, feet up above the heart and the hips. So this is a pose you can do for up to 15 minutes a day, especially if you spend a lot of time on your feet. If you have a job where you walk a lot, or you're standing a lot in your job, this is a great position for you to just do every night before bed. In this inversion, we're calming the central nervous system, increasing or improving circulation and kidney function, improving brain function and hormone production. So many benefits to this gentle pose. Just know that you can stay here as long as you want. And when you're ready, coming into your Shavasana. So gently place the feet back on the mat. Push through the feet to lift the hips up and slide the block or cushion out from underneath you. And then coming into your Shavasana. Now, if you do have lower back problems, you can keep your feet on the mat and take the feet a little bit wider than hip distance and just let the knees fall in towards each other. The hands coming down alongside the body, palms facing up or down. And the alternative position for your legs is to have them straight down towards the bottom of the mat. And just closing down the eyes, focusing in on the breath. Just knowing that you can stay in this position for as long as you're comfortable. And enjoy this position. Namaste. Thank you for joining me.